Good evening. I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council in regular session. It is Monday, November 17th, 2025, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Cross?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Starr?
Here.
Councilor Christopher?
Here.
Councilor Jan?
Here.
Councilor Parsons?
Just got to find the unmute. Okay, I see the lips moving. Anyway, Councilor Parsons is on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All
Youth
right.
Councilor Guptill? Here.
All right. If you are able, I ask you to rise and all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Before we get into the agenda, Mr. Wood, do you want to let people know about what's happening with our Comcast broadcast tonight?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Comcast is down tonight. We're having a server issue. Comcast is trying to rush a new server out to us as we speak. If we can get it in place in time, we will get it back on to K23. We are broadcasting live to Facebook, YouTube, and to the Kaiser 23, Kaiser TV website. So there are some options.
And I don't see you, and is that because I can't see you either?
I don't think that's related to Comcast, but it may be.
Okay. All right, we'll work on getting you visual for Councilor Parsons. And thank you very much for letting us know what's happening with that. There are a lot of people who do like to watch on Channel 23. With that, we are going to go to, we have no special orders of business tonight. So we will go to our committee reports, and we'd like to invite up Portland General Electric to give a presentation to us. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, good evening, Mayor Clark and Kaiser City Council. Thank you for having us this evening, and staff, recognize some faces. Thank you for having us this evening. We're here to provide you an update and share a little bit about what we're working on and what we're doing here in the community. And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Senior Vice President Larry Beckedahl.
Welcome.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor and President, Council Starr and council members and staff. It's a pleasure to be here. Larry Beckedahl, and Senior Vice President for Advanced Energy Delivery. What is that? I'm kind of the old guy that's been around. I was and ran the transmission for Bonneville prior to coming to Portland General. I've been here for 11 years. Prior to that with Clark Public Utilities, and then prior to that with Pacific Corp. So over 40 years in the industry. Love it, but there's a lot of change going on. That's part of what we want to talk about here this evening. And really the importance of, and I think it's pretty evident, Wendy connects with many of you, and I really appreciate that. Please do make those connections with her. If you've got questions at any time, by all means, use Wendy. She knows everybody in the company and is able to get to them. So as we talk through issues, et cetera, don't hesitate. I would rather get to those issues quickly so when they do come up. But I want to say thanks, a special thanks to Wendy, because I know she has been down here and been a strong member of the community. So this evening, what we were hoping to do is give you a little bit of update on what's been going on with Portland General and answer some questions and hopefully re-engage here and understanding what is important to you as a council and what you're thinking about, because there's a lot that's going on, not only in the industry, but in every community throughout the Willamette Valley. So that's what we want to touch on. I'm not sure if I have access. Can I run the show, or is it?
Thank you, Melissa.
Or Melissa runs? Okay, if we could advance. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Well, real quickly, and as we look at, I know the population is about 40,000 here in Kaiser. It's a great sized community. We look at the growth, and we use 1990 as kind of a barometer. And the reason why we say that is because if we go back in time, the Northwest and the build out of the electric grid, we go back really to the new era, when the dams, the hydro facilities were all being built on the Columbia and the Snake. And that was the 30s, putting people back to work. Right after that's World War II, the aluminum industry comes in. Steel grows. The wood industry also expanded at that time. And that's when the transmission system was built. So between the 40s until the early 70s, the transmission system was being built. And we have taken advantage of the cheap, low-cost hydro that's been in the Northwest for many years, and it's been really a key element of our industry. Then the aluminum industry left in the 90s, and chip manufacturing came in. So as we look at Intel and others, they filled that gap. And we are now at the point where the transmission system is bumping its limits. And I say that because there are lots of new large loads that are interested, but we all have air conditioning. If you think about the heat bubble that took place in the summer of 2021, where we reached 115, 116 degrees, that next summer at 96 degrees, we had the same peak that we had in 115, 116 degrees, which told us that everybody was putting air conditioning in. And many people moving into the area really love the air conditioning. So heat pumps, air conditioning, electric vehicles now, we're seeing the electric system grow at somewhere between 2.5% to 3%. New large loads in the industrial space are looking at somewhere between 13 to 15%. So we're seeing an expansion in the system that we haven't seen for a long time. So I raise that, we note that your growth here in Kaiser has been about 80% since 1990. We haven't built anything in terms of transmission into the area since that period of time, and actually the 70s. So as we're all thinking about planning, we ask you to also think about us on the electric side. I think we've coasted along pretty easily, but now we're at that point where if we're wanting to expand as communities, Kaiser right now is about 80 megawatts. And I share that, what's 80 megawatts? Well, 1 megawatt is about 350 homes. So multiply that out, you've got 40,000 as a population. You think about the industry, but you've got about 80 megawatts here in Kaiser. So depending on what you want to bring in, and again, typical industry is anywhere from 1 megawatt to 10 megawatts. But when we talk about new large loads, and when you hear data centers, they tend to be the 100 megawatt. It's kind of like the aluminum industry, 100 megawatt boxes that were brought in. They had 5 pot lines. We could turn 1 pot line down or 2 pot lines, 20 megawatts apiece. They provided flexibility into the system, but they also paid for the system being expanded. And that's one of the things we're going through right now, and we call it cost causation, but if they are causing the expansion, then we want them to pay for the expansion. So you'll see that in our regulation, a lot of dialogue that's going on in that. So I just share that because I know that tends to be a pretty hot topic in terms of how we grow the system, how do we build out the transmission, who pays for it, because affordability is really on everybody's minds. And as good counselor mentioned, and I know it's been on the mayor's, your attention as well, is this affordability, the 18% rate increase that we had a few years ago. Maria Pope, my boss, has already made that commitment. We're going to keep it underneath of inflation for residential customers. And I say residential customers, because if the new large load is paying for the large transmission build out, et cetera, it's going to be more than inflation. So just recognize that that's the direction that we are going at this point. In addition to that, we can talk about storms. Oops, there we go. Extreme weather, mentioned the heat domes, but we've had the winter storms. And I know you've been impacted here in the community. Wildfire is the other that has been on all of our minds here of recent. And it's taken a lot of time and effort, putting in technology. How do we harden the system? Are we actually putting in steel poles instead of wood poles in the appropriate locations? Are we undergrounding where necessary? We've got to look at each of those situations as we think about how do you harden the system. You're dealing with cybersecurity. Obviously, we do as well. Anybody that can and tries to inject and impact the system is on our minds. We really need to control that. So emergencies clearly are, I think, on everybody's minds, and how do we build resiliency? The other is strength, and you're starting to see in our system, which is, I mentioned Kaiser being 80 megawatts, our system total is 4,500 megawatts. And of that, we now have 500 megawatts of batteries. There are 3 distinct locations, Troutdale, the St. John's area, and then over in the Hillsborough area, where the 500 megawatts is located. That gives us the ability to flex with purchasing power when it's cheapest. So I'll use wind at night, or it's solar during the day that's coming from the desert Southwest. And many times it's coming up and they're actually paying us to take it at times. But we then can use it from the battery. So we haven't had the ability, outside of hydro, we've had some ability to store, but now we have real flexibility with batteries on the system. And so frequency reserves, and in fact, it was here in Salem during the ARRA, we had the first batteries in the Northwest, and we found out there were 14 different ancillary services, which means flexibility. How do we use them? How do we make affordability become the primary issue associated with that storage? And we saw that, I'll use it from California perspective, 52 gigawatt system compared to our 4.5 gigawatts. 52 gigawatts, they have 13 gigawatts of batteries, so roughly 20% of their system. And at the same time, we saw the prices in the summer that were used to peak 2 years ago at $1,000 to $2,000 a megawatt hour are now $150. So what does that mean? That means affordability to all of us as customers. So we think in terms of how do we utilize renewables? How do we take advantage of technology and put it to work for us to make it affordable?
I like how that sounds.
Lots of work though, and a lot of effort and coordination amongst everyone. And if there's ever any concerns, I will also mention, I sit on the advisory board for the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in the Tri-Cities. They now have a grid storage laboratory there that they're testing all the batteries for us. If you ever have any questions about large-scale batteries, education, we're working with first responders, anybody that's having to deal with. There's been a lot of concern in the past of lithium and, fires, thermal runaway, which is really generated by water. Water penetration into those devices becomes a real problem. So we've learned a lot of lessons and a lot of better building of those technologies, but we can bring in experts if needed, if anybody has interest to dig in and understand the technology. Customer prices, so I keep referring to that and trying to make sure that we keep our costs down. This year, we reduced our overall budgets by $25 million, and we anticipate that it results in $40 million this next year, but also another tranche of $25 million this next year. So we are adamantly really working to cut our cost across the board. Not an easy thing. I know you're all dealing with that as well. We're all faced with it, but affordability is on everybody's mind. The other thing is we do a lot of income assistance on bills. And so you note the number of households here. We estimate that that's roughly about 60% of those that are eligible are on the assistance program with us. And so we encourage, those that are on low income or fixed income, taking advantage of that. We also announced that, during this issues where we had not only the SNAP program concerns, but also we're heading into the holidays and cold periods, disconnecting customers, we put that on hold. So know that that's also a big effort associated with low income.
Can we press pause? Councilor Christopher?
Thanks so much. What percentage did you say are on assistance?
So of those that are eligible, there's roughly 60% that are. So
What were they before the 18% increase? Just wondering.
we didn't have that program before the 18% increase.
Thank you.
So just for clarification, you have an idea of the number of households that could be eligible, but not everybody chooses to engage for any one of a number of reasons.
Correct.
Or maybe isn't even aware. We've done a significant amount of outreach, but still it's hard to reach everybody. So there might be those who just aren't aware that they could
Right.
qualify.
Right.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mentioned wildfire. We have 12 different zones that are shown here on the maps, that are colored there in kind of yellowish. One new area that was shown in red, and then one area that was green that was taken out because we hardened the system in that area. But there's a lot of science, a lot of the industry practice going in and thinking about how do we make sure and prevent wildfires where possible. Again, the majority of wildfires are caused by lightning strikes, et cetera, but we don't want to contribute to that. We want to make sure that we are able to control and maintain. So we do have the public safety power shutoffs. We've done that twice now. The first was the Memorial Day of 2022, or 2020, excuse me, that we actually invoked on Mount Hood. And we heard from a lot of residents that thankfully we did, because tree branches were everywhere on top of wire, laying down on the ground everywhere. So, we've had the fire chief up there tell us, you saved Mount Hood by shutting it down. So, so we will continue to work with every community and thinking about how do we prepare, how do we make sure that homes are protected. There's lots of things that homeowners can do around their houses to make, if they're gonna live in high tree density areas. But we have areas, I'm gonna use Forest Park as a good example, right there in Portland, that could, be an instant fire with a lot of homes in the West Hills, et cetera, that could be impacted, much like you saw in LA. So we're trying to think about how do we do a better job with wildfire.
If I could, I'll jump in at this point, and this is a conversation I had with Ms. Valise, was talking about how in Kaiser, tree work is something that we very much welcome, working with homeowners, but also working with our rights of way, where we have street trees that may be needing to be trimmed. I was walking home the other day and noticed that a number of our street trees had been trimmed back away from power lines. And because of the way we do regulations in Kaiser, we try to make it as easy as possible for utilities and others to be able to keep our trees well-trimmed, maintained, et cetera. And Bill, can I put you on the spot a little bit about that? But efforts that we undertake to keep trees where they can be safer?
Certainly. In our parks, we monitor the trees on a regular basis for dangerous limbs and things like that, dangerous trees. Thankfully, in most of our parks, we don't have to worry about overhead power. But I do know that we monitor also the contractors hired by both PG and Salem Electric to do regular tree trimming around the city. I've seen crews in town, I don't know, for the last 3 weeks, I think it is, making sure they're all trimmed down and kept away and kept safe.
Thank you very much. So if there are ways that we can facilitate the work of your crews to keep the trees and other vegetation out of the power lines, please let Mr. Lawyer and Mr. Brown know so we can coordinate to make that, make our community safer.
Great, thank you. We really appreciate that coordination, because many times taking down the full trees, it does take a coordinated effort. And if, again, we're in storm situations, usually there's trees laying down and cutting way through to get streets opened, et cetera. So we know there's a lot of coordination that needs to take place at during those moments. But there's also programs to remove trees and put in trees that grow that are smaller, a great canopy, but not growing up in the power line. So we love working with cities to find the best solution we can. So thank you for the coordination.
Thank you.
And again, don't hesitate to call Wendy if you're seeing something. We really, seriously, we try to keep after our contractors to make sure we're getting the most for the money that we spend every day. And I'll also plug that standards are starting to evolve. Tree trimming standards were originally set for children climbing in trees to stay from getting electrocuted in climbing those trees. Today, it's all about keeping vegetation back and away, and so it's changed. So how do we think about the standards associated with it?
Yeah.
On top of that, I'll leave you with just on the clean energy side, you can see how much, breakout of between natural gas. We still have a coal plant that's partial ownership in eastern Montana, but you see the hydro, the wind, the solar that is here. And then the other are unspecified for the most part is what we purchase on the market. Most of it coming out of California at times or out of Canada. But this kind of gives you a breakdown. We're now at 45% non-emitting on our system at this point. So let me open up for questions and anything that might be thinking of.
All right, thank you very much. This has been really helpful information. I know folks have questions, so I'm going to go this way, and then I'll go this way and see if we can get as many of them answered as possible. Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for all that you do to support our community and our residents and your customers. You mentioned that 60% of the eligible residents are taking advantage of the assistance program. In the packet of information, I think you said 1,258 Kaiser residents are taking advantage of that. Is that 60%? Is it 60% of the overall customer base total, or is it 60% of Kaiser residents that are taking advantage of that, of the eligible?
That's just the Kaiser.
So only 60% of our eligible Kaiser residents are taking advantage of the assistance programs through Portland General Electric. I know that our esteemed colleague from the Kaiser Times, that seems like something that would be very helpful to get out to our community. So I'm looking at last, thank you. So thank you for clarifying that.
Yep, and the other part that we can do, just to follow up, is I can send something to Adam that you can put in your social media that
Perfect.
says, here's a little, we have visuals that you could just plug into your social media and say, call this number and get signed up.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that extra focus on that.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good. Councilor Christopher?
Thanks. So what is the program? What is the HELP program? Do you have a elevator speech?
It is income-based.
Okay.
And there's a certain percentage off your bill based on that income compared to low income. But maybe you.
It's basically a discount based on your income.
And is it renewable annually, or is it ongoing until?
It's ongoing. It's a program that has been approved by the Oregon Public Utility Commission. So once you sign up, you are in the program, unless your income changes.
And how would you know that, Wendy?
I wouldn't know that, Councilor Christopher. But I can find out how we check, how that's, if there's any, how we
So once they
process.
qualify, they're qualified until,
Yes.
that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
It
you.
may be, I'll find out, but it may be a self-reporting thing.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Dran, anything?
Oh, wait. I do have one
But one more.
One more is regarding the hardening.
Just one more.
So I'm really, that was predominantly the need for the 18% increase because it was a disastrous fire year. And I understand that and I recognize that. And those costs had to be covered. And that 18% helped to do that. So how, looking forward, here's what I want. I want you to help me to understand that we will never have to swallow another 18% increase because we have foresight now of what the worst looks like. And we can start those hardening processes, so that will never happen again. That was, those 60, well, we didn't have the program before. That was so significant for folks to have to put that 18% into their family budgets, that if we have another disastrous fire year like that, I can't even imagine how our folks will be able to absorb that. I don't think they will be. So help me feel good that huge changes have occurred so that that won't happen again. And I heard you say, we turned the power off. Yay.
And that is by far and the most
Absolutely.
economic means of doing. So we will use that when necessary. I also recognize that a lot of that 18% was power cost. So the energy that used to be as cheap from the hydro has been used, or it is used. And so as we all continue to use more, there's more expensive resources that are being applied. And so it's twofold. It's not only just hardening, as you were saying, but it's really the energy and where you're purchasing it and how you're purchasing it. So we're just joining the day-ahead market, they call it, but we are in the energy imbalance market. That's saving us, we, Portland General, over about $15 million a year just by being in that market to bring the power cost down. In addition to that, the day-ahead market will make even a bigger impact to that.
Yeah, do more of that.
So you're right. Those things that we can really impact, and where we can use technology to help us. We're doing things like, we call it dynamic line ratings, where we actually can get more out of the system. So when I can stretch and use the asset a little bit more, and do it safely and reliably, that spreads cost, and keeps it down low for everybody. So we're looking for every opportunity in that way, to really drive our costs down.
Follow-up?
My last follow-up would be, so you had said before the meeting got started, we didn't, or maybe you said it, I don't know when you said it. We didn't take any increases during COVID. And I'll tell you, that's great, but we've forgotten that. And what I think works well for all of us who have to live within a budget is knowing what to anticipate. I told you about, I don't have a better word for it, but our trash men, our lovely trash men, have said, you're going to see us every November. You're going to know what that increase is for January. You can rely on that. I really liked hearing that, although I hope some years they will come and say, guess what? Happy birthday. No increase this year. But at least we know we can plan for it. And I think that is a much better way for all of us to budget. Certainly, I'm sure we all appreciated that during COVID. And at the same time, we've forgotten about that. All we remember 18%, I will assure you. And so if that was something that was more reliable, that we would see you annually and you'd say, here's what happened. Here's what we've done. Here's how we've controlled costs. Love hearing that you're looking to control 40 million. Great. I love hearing all those things. And I think, your business has changed as dramatically as all of our businesses have changed. But that reliability of knowing, if we could know on an annual basis what our bills are going to look like next year, I think that would be very helpful to all of us who have to pay for power. The other thing is, we love Facebook. We love all these data centers. We love them. We love ChatGPT. We love it. At the same time, they all get money for those businesses. And so they should pay for that increased power that they're sucking. And I should not. Thank you.
Councilor Christopher, thank you. Great comments. And be sure we are working to those. We don't want surprises. And I think through the legislative session, there's actually now mandates on timing and how that's communicated. So absolutely. We've learned our lesson. Don't wait. Little bits at a time are a whole lot better than a big chunk. Thank you.
We have too. We've done the same thing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Cross?
Thank you both for being here. My question is with the income qualified bill discount program that you said, thank you, Wendy, that you're going to send to Adam. Does that information on the website, English and Spanish?
Yeah, it comes in maybe up to 17 languages.
Oh, awesome. Wonderful. Great work. Thank you.
Councilor Kohler?
If I could just read 16 or 17 languages now.
Yeah.
What effect did the shutdown of the trash burner have on PGE?
Yeah, Wendy and I were talking ahead of the meeting, trying to remember just how big it was, how many megawatts, and, you know, we don't have the details on what the contracts were. Many of those, you know, were in what they call qualifying facilities, and they were given a special rate. So, we may have been paying more for it than market price, which means, you know, all the customers are paying more than what it was. But I can't answer that. What I would say is that I love generation of any kind. We need it right now. I mean, as the Northwest, generation is in high demand right now, and will continue to be for some time as we continue to transition to a clean future. We need those resources. But if we could dig into it and find out details, but neither one of us could remember before the meeting what happened there.
I thought you guys just knew everything.
Sorry. But we will dig it out. Thank you.
Follow up?
I sit in some meetings where we talk about solid waste disposal, quite a few lately. And there are people that think that things like that are just terrible things, and they think dams are terrible things. But I look at all the good that comes from the burner and the dams and the generation at a very cost-effective way. And I think sometimes some people are short-sighted. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Youth Counselor, do you have any questions or comments?
Not right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of questions, and I really appreciate the questions from my colleagues. You were talking about storage as a means of taking out the wild changes in availability of electricity. And as you know, Kaiser has land near a major transmission center. And we have had conversations in the past about battery storage. We have a battery storage facility coming to Kaiser, and the opportunity to build that into our resiliency for the Mid-Willamette Valley. As you were listing the places that have battery, did I miss, I don't remember hearing one that's here in the Mid-Willamette Valley. And this is asked partly in terms of being able to have more data centers and types of operations, but also in terms of our resiliency with Cascadia. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll fill in just a little as to say it would be great. From a resiliency standpoint, the small battery of 5 megawatts that we had in Salem was not enough. And considering when you think of 80 megawatts of what is Kaiser today, Salem on top of that, and you start to expand around and think the 200 megawatts that's sitting in Troutdale today becomes a really nice addition to resiliency around that area. So we would encourage it. We'll be looking for that. And as energy and power flows, we are looking to build from Central Oregon. We have a grant through a federal grant through Department of Energy to rebuild our 230 line from Bethel substation, which is just to the east here, all the way out to Central Oregon to 500 kV, which again provides a lot of additional capacity to move energy. Batteries would be great to have in this space. So I would anticipate, again, locating it in the right spots. It is going to be a big benefit to everyone.
We do have again, Larry mentioned it, we do have a battery project in Salem.
Okay.
And so if anybody ever wanted to take a look at it, we'd be happy to do so. But that particular project received a grant from the Oregon Department of Energy. They got $1 million for that. And one of the reasons that it was ideal is, one, it's next to our battery location. It's next to their new or their remodeled Public Works, which houses their emergency operations center. And it also will serve a population of low-income customers. So they will have very strong reliable power, the resiliency in that sector. It's a small sector, but it is, I think, the only city that has been selected for that type of project in Oregon. So happy to take you out there and you could take a look at what these look like.
I would love that.
Okay.
So that would be a big yes for a field trip close by to understand how we are building resiliency in the Salem-Keizer area. And then definitely want to keep the door open for additional possibilities, especially as we bring the battery storage over north of the Keizer Station area as that gets built and comes online. Is not quite there yet, but I'm excited for that to come.
That'd be great.
I have just one more. And that was on the topic of, you've covered these on expansion, but to follow up, a question was asked, I think it was Councilor Kohler talking about the different sources. I'm concerned about the notion of taking the Detroit Big Cliff offline for hydro with the extreme drawdown. Some other proposals that are looking at extreme drawdowns and other changes to the river flow that would impede the ability to generate hydropower to this area. And so I'd love to engage in further conversation with you about that. I understand there's a lot of complication around that with native species of salmon and so forth, but there's got to be a win that will keep something as natural and as effective as local hydropower available for us, and be able to continue to work with the salmon. They've got a good system there. A lot of good work's been done to promote salmon passage and so forth, but losing the hydropower is something that I feel it would not be in best interest of our region. So love to follow up on that conversation.
Great. No, appreciate that. And we do work closely with Bonneville on that behalf. That is, we even have what's called a residential exchange, which is our portion, when you think of private utilities versus public utilities, portion that is given from the hydros, because we all should benefit from the hydros, given that we all paid for them. So it is a ongoing discussion, but you're right. We want to get it correct in terms of fish flow, temperatures, and the use of the hydro. So many times it's better to flow the fish through the dam than it is over the dam with spilling. Given the nitrogen that you inject into the water, you give the fish the bends and kill fish. So there's a lot of science behind it, and I hope that we continue to build on that, get better. But it's a great comment, thank you. That's been a real blessing to the Northwest for many years.
Yeah, it has.
One other last comment would be, we were also doing tours of our Integrated Operations Center. We built a couple of years ago. If you really want to see the visualization of how we operate the grid, many times it's a mystery to a lot of people, but we're happy to, and we're doing tours. We'd happy to set up a tour of that as well.
Well, we'd appreciate if you would work with Ms. Bissett, who can work with our schedules for some opportunities for
Right.
those who can make themselves available, learn more about our power generation, and knowledge is also power.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah,
love to
that would help us.
we'd love to have all of you. So, but I will follow up with Adam on,
Okay.
on providing some dates. Thank you.
All right. Anything further?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Okay. Do we have any committee reports tonight? Thank you. Tammy Kunz for Community Diversity Engagement.
Good evening. Tammy Kunz, Keizer, Oregon. The Keizer Community Diversity Committee has been holding some conversations. We're working on our RAC card. Lori shared with us some information on the Cultural Center with the Day of the Dead and some of the things that were going on at the Heritage Center. We are working on a few different things. One of them is having all the boards and committees come and give reports so we can figure out how to partner with them a little bit better. We're working on incorporating more neighborhood association reports with the committee. And then we are working on a community meeting for hopefully January, if everything comes together, with the Southeast Kaiser Community Center, to where we hold our meeting there in January. They're got a little bit of a schedule conflict, so we're trying to get that all worked out. I did pass on Tim's information today with that crew, along with Don's information, so that they can work that piece out for the timing. And then we're working on an All Nations Day project to enhance the community and bring community together with celebrating the different heritages.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Kunz? All right. It was a pleasure to join you all that evening. I don't get to swap in all that often, so I really enjoyed that time with you all.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other committee reports tonight? Neighborhood associations? Nope. Youth counselor?
Nope.
Not tonight. All right. Thank you very much. We will, Counselor Kohler?
She might not remember, but she has an announcement that she had something real exciting happen this week. She was accepted where?
Oh, well, I guess I was accepted to a college today. Sounds exciting.
Yes, that would qualify, and that college would be?
It was Great Northern University.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's wonderful news. Have you picked out a major yet, or is that still to be determined?
If I go study there, I'll be studying family and youth ministry. So.
Very exciting. Well, congratulations.
Thank
Wow,
you.
you're one of the early adopters. There's a lot of students that are still waiting. That's great news. Cool stuff. All right. That is the end of committee reports. We will go to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing this evening for 3 resolutions for authorizations of supplemental budget. So if you're here for any one of those, please stand by. And I do not have anybody signed up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the council this evening under public comment? Okay. We will then go to our consent calendar. And Council President Starr, do you want to read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Absolutely. Our consent calendar reads as follows. Item A, approval of the November 3rd, 2025 regular session minutes. And item B, the event center use fee waiver for the Kaiser Community Band.
Okay. Are there any polls for the consent calendar? Seeing none, Council President Starr.
I move the Kaiser City Council adopt the consent calendar as read.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. We will now go to our public hearing. Public hearing is now open for resolution authorization for a supplemental budget, Park Improvement Fund, State of Oregon grant. Resolution authorization for a supplemental budget, General Fund, Park Services, Capital Outlay, and resolution authorization for a supplemental budget, Administrative Services Fund, General Administration, Liability Insurance. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, the Assistant City Manager Tim Wood has the public hearings tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. Tonight, we have 3 budget adjustments. The first one is to recognize and appropriate $750,000 of grant proceeds from the state of Oregon. Again, thank you to our House Representative Kevin Mannix and Council President Starr and the rugby team for helping to make this one happen. As you recall, at the last meeting, we approved the grant, and we've actually already received the funds, so we're ready to get going on the Kaiser Rapids Turf Field Phase 3 project. The second adjustment is simply moving appropriations from last year to this year. In the Park Services Fund, we had anticipated completing Bob Newton Park last year, although some of those costs rolled into this year. So we're moving $438,000 of working capital from last year to this year. The third adjustment is to transfer $25,000 from contingency to materials and services in the Administrative Services Fund. As many of you know, we have a insurance policy where we pay a base premium, and then as claims are received, we have to move money out of contingency to pay those claims up to the maximum insurance liability amount, and then after that, our insurance kicks in. So unfortunately, we received a few auto-related claims, so we're moving $25,000 from contingency to materials and services to cover those costs. With that, I'd be free to address any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the 3 supplemental budgets? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to address the council under this public hearing on the supplemental budgets? Seeing none. Anything further before I close the public hearing? Nothing from council. Councilor Parsons, anything?
No.
Okay. Public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr, would you please put the motion on the table?
Sure thing. Coach, do we want them one at a time or?
One at a time.
One at a time. Okay. So I move the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for supplemental budget, Park Improvement Fund, State of Oregon grant.
Second.
Let me get back to the right page. Here it is. It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for a supplemental budget, Park Improvement Fund, State of Oregon grant. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously.
I move the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for a supplemental budget, general fund, park services, capital outlay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for supplemental budget, general fund, park services, capital outlay. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. And
I move the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for a supplemental budget, administrative services fund, general administration, liability insurance.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R 2025, authorization for supplemental budget, administrative services fund, general administration, liability insurance. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes this evening's public hearings. We will now go to administrative action. Item 9A. Mr. Brown, it is my understanding that this one is going to be tabled.
That's correct. It's not ready for the council yet.
Mr. Lindsay, should we table, or is that the appropriate way to move this to a date not yet determined?
This doesn't have to be publicly noticed, so we can just put it either whenever they're ready, which could be the next 1 or 2 meetings.
Okay. So this agenda item will then be rescheduled for a date that is compatible with both the city and the, in this case, Forge Fiber 37 LLC. Okay. Let's go then to item 9B, which is an ordinance establishing a franchise agreement, NFC Northwest LLC, for the provision of telecommunications services within the city of Kaiser. City manager?
Thank you. City Attorney Lindsay has this item.
All right.
Okay, and we do have folks from actually Ziply Fiber, but also it can speak for NFC Northwest if she wants to come forward as well.
Yes.
They are sort of a subsidiary of, and she could explain this more. They're basically a financing company for.
Give my presentation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so basically what we have here is a need, if you're going to be working in the city rights of way, then you have to have a franchise with us. And so this company, and she can explain the relationship to Ziply, is going to be working in part of our rights of way. And so even though they're related to and work with this company, because they're a separate company and because they're going to have separate ownership of some of the lines, they needed to come forward and have their own franchise agreement, same terms and conditions. And so we're just standing squarely in place of, or making sure that we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is in terms of having its own unique franchise. Just because if you have separate ownership, then there'll be separate payments that way. But also, if they ever part ways, we want to make sure that we have control over it.
Thank you very much. Welcome. If you would introduce yourself to everybody.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Nice to see many of you again. I'm Jessica Epley, the Vice President of Regulatory and External Affairs for Ziply Fiber. You may have heard earlier this year, there was a little bit of an event. Ziply Fiber transferred ownership from our private equity owners that we previously had, and we are now part of the Bell Canada family of companies, right? That's our ultimate parent. It turns out when you go from private equity ownership, you raise debt to continue building your network in a different way. As a private equity owner, we would issue bonds, much like a city would. We would later pay back those investors. Under this new form of ownership, because Bell Canada BCE Holdings is a publicly traded company, instead we form joint ventures. And that joint venture in this particular model is with the public sector pension fund in Canada, the largest pension fund in Canada. Having that type of an industrial or institutional investor as underwriting our future build, it changes the way we have to operate a little bit. I believe in your packet, there's an infographic. If you would like to turn that in front of you, and I'll give you a little bit of the narrative behind this. So under this ownership model, as you can imagine, as a pension fund, they have to have some form of physical ownership. They have to have title to something in order to pay for it, right? So our way of accomplishing that is by saying, from the point of presence, and you'll see that as a series of blocks on your infographic, to the private property, that is the physical part of the network that will be owned by this new entity, which is known as NFC Northwest.
And real quick, I'm going to let folks watching at home know this is on page 41 of the electronic packet.
Thank you. So in that segment of our network, which is all here within the city limits of Kaiser, NFC Northwest will be the named title owner of those assets. Now, NFC Northwest doesn't have really any of its own employees. In fact, I'm doing work on behalf of them tonight as a Ziply Fiber employee. That's part of this partnership, is we provide managed services to them. So it's truly an entity that is a true partnership. They cannot exist without Ziply Fiber. They could, it's a little complicated, but getting from that point of presence out to the internet, that's all Ziply Fiber's lines. And once we hit private property, it goes back to being Ziply Fiber. So in terms of what your citizens are going to see, in terms of the people you're going to be dealing with, it's all the same people that have been here already and completing that construction as we move into the next phase of that construction. And I see Mr. Lawyer's here with us tonight, so I want to make sure I address a couple of things up front. We got off to a bit of a rocky start here in Kaiser. I mean, we certainly had some growing pains. We were trying out a couple of new vendors. We learned some things about how our complaint system and our complaint response system was working. Very pleased to sit here tonight and say that we have no open complaints at present. We have a staffed phone line that people are actually able to call and talk to somebody. We found that actually helped to improve the number of complaints we were receiving. We've hired some staff to help me so that as we get into more robust construction season and we start seeing more issues, there's actually people that are going to be available in the community and that can come and address concerns of this council as well. So hopefully that described that relationship a little bit and the reason why NFC needs its own separate franchise. Beginning in January, this will be our funding model going forward. So we'd like to stay on track with our construction, and having this franchise in place will allow us to do that. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Counselor Christopher?
Originally, we were told, I think, that Zipley was going to complete all of the construction in Kaiser by December 30th. Is that still right?
We're about a third of the way complete, and we had to,
Oh.
we changed some pathways that we were on. Originally, I think we had some different ideas about how we were going to complete construction, and frankly, we need to do directional boring as we're doing construction in certain parts in the underground portion of the city. That was not, I think we had a different idea about how we were going to approach that construction, so we had to go back, redesign, bring in some different vendors. I believe we're on track now, Bill, right? Yes, things are going well. We're expecting sometime in the middle of 2026 to be complete.
Okay, so that would be really good, Les, to let folks know that, I mean, that was a hot freaking topic about, because it was, like you said, it was kind of a rocky start to begin with. I think folks are used to it now, but the timeline we were given originally was December of 25. So now you're thinking June-ish of 26.
Yes, we
Okay.
want to create less chaos, and
That would be great.
when I looked at the map of where we've kind of built everywhere all at once, and
Yeah.
now we're taking a more focused approach so that we are really working in one specific area or maybe a few surrounding areas instead of kind of touching the entirety of the city all at once.
Great, thanks.
All right, thank you. Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You mentioned a complaint number. Is that a number that the general public has, or are we trying to track those complaints from a city perspective? So we want to know about it, and then we call that complaint number? I think that would be something important to clarify for anyone that's watching or listening to the meeting.
Absolutely. We have, the complaint telephone number is on our construction feedback page. When you see our construction signs, there's a QR code and a phone number. And that's the phone number that's actually staffed by Zipley employees. We are keeping track of that information and relaying the complaint volume and our responsiveness to the city on a weekly basis now. So that information will be flowing through my team, hopefully. You're seeing it, Bill. If not, let me double check that, but it should be getting to your desk every week. And then whether or not council wants to hear what those results are, we'd be happy to convey that. So whomever the right point of contact would be for that, we would be very happy to make sure that you were getting it on a weekly or monthly basis, whatever your preference is.
Well, and if I could piggyback on that real quick before you go to follow-up, would that be okay? Okay.
Okay.
Just real quick, because we get the Friday reports. So that could be something from Mr. Lawyer to Mr. Brown.
Oh, great idea. That's a great idea.
That's a lot.
Perfect. So you need it by Thursday?
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
End of business Thursday would be great.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you for allowing that. Council President Starr?
That was my question.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Yep. We had a convergence. All right. Anything further? Councilor Duran? Councilor Cross? Councilor Kohler? Youth Councilor Capital? All right. Well, thank you very much. This has been very helpful information, and we appreciate the updates.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, anything further before Council President Starr puts a motion on the table? Councilor Parsons, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you for if you had any questions. Did you have any questions, Councilor? Nope. Councilor, okay, does not. Council President Starr, would you like to put a motion on the table, please?
I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt ordinance 2025 establishing a franchise agreement with the NFC Northwest LLC for the provision of telecommunication services within the city of Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt ordinance 2025 establishing a franchise agreement with NFC Northwest LLC for the provision of telecommunications services within the city of Kaiser. Discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here tonight. We're going to go to item 9C, which is resolution amending the City of Kaiser Police Services fee, repealing Resolution R 2023-3376. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Mr. Wood has this item.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the 25-26 City of Kaiser Budget Committee approved budget includes an increase in the police services fee of 69 cents per month. It's basically a 10% increase in the police fee. It has an effective date of January 1st, 2026. The fee increase will provide approximately $60,000 in additional resources in support of the police department. During the budget hearing deliberations, the City Council decided to postpone decision on the police services fee until the second meeting in November. The purpose being to have a financial update on revenues, as well as to hear from the Long Range Planning Task Force. Unfortunately, the Long Range Planning Task Force got moved to December 8th, so you're going to get a financial review, and then we can kind of move from there. If you would turn to page 56, it's the last page of the packet. It is labeled City of Kaiser General Operating Fund as of October 31st, 2025. This is a package together our general fund, police services fund, and park services. So all the funds that are pretty well tied to the general fund receive majority of their support from the general fund or the two fees that we receive. And as requested, I thought we could just go through and do a quick update. Line 2, taxes and assessments, that is primarily property taxes. As I indicated a while back, we did see a 3.67% increase, which is greater than the 3% increase that we typically budget. So from property tax standpoint, we're going to see an additional $43,800. Moving to the next line, line 3, license and fees. The sanitation is coming in a little bit higher than what we anticipated, so we're seeing an increase of about $7,000. Intergovernmental, this is primarily liquor. Unfortunately, we're seeing a big decrease in liquor still, so that's going to be a loss of about $85,700. Fines and forfeitures, we're seeing an uptick in citations written, so $14,900 increase for fines and forfeitures. And then the other line item, our miscellaneous income, we saw some insurance proceeds that we weren't expecting, so an increase of $29,000. Moving to line 9, the police services fee. If we don't do anything tonight, we're going to see a decrease from our budget of $60,000. So overall, we're behind our revenues by about $51,000. When we look at our expenditures, line 14, general government, we're seeing a savings of about $100,000. That's primarily due to not using our contingencies. Those will roll into our ending fund balance if we don't end up using them during the year. So that's a positive. For line 15, planning, we had a $50,000 line item for a transportation study. We believe we can use SDC dollars for that, so that is the $50,000 savings there. Line 17, parks, you'll see that's a pickup of $438,000. That is the supplemental budget that we approved tonight to move the dollars from the previous year to this year. So that's primarily Bob Newton Park that we're looking at right there. The police, we're seeing a savings of about $100,000. That's primarily to the net impact of personnel with some hiring later in the year than what we had originally anticipated. Contingency line 20, again, we're not anticipating spending our contingency, or hopefully we won't. So that's $859,000 savings there. And then our transfers out, the biggest transfer out was to the PERS obligation. Our PERS settlement for the retirees, the tier 1, tier 2 folks, is coming to be about $1.3 million instead of the 3.5 that we had previously anticipated. That's not that we're off the hook. Some of that is rolling into our unfunded liability that we'll be paying for the next 20 years. However, the short-term impact is that we won't need to borrow as much money immediately. So that's definitely a positive. So overall, line 24, we originally budgeted a loss of $2.9 million. Our loss is going to be closer to $2 million. This is obviously unsustainable, and we had anticipated using our ending fund balance over the next several years to get us to fiscal year 28, 29, where some of the dollars associated with the Kaiser Station LID would free up. So with that, unfortunately, we're not really in a much better position than where we originally anticipated ourselves being. So that's the financial update, and we'll expand further on this during the long-range planning task force in a couple weeks. So now, before you, I do apologize. I was having some technical difficulties last week. So I had all these nice charts in my staff report, and then they kind of disappeared on me. So anyway, if you'd bring up the supplemental handout, we can kind of go through this. Is a little bit more specific to the police services fee. So in the paper copy, the chart in the upper left, police department revenue by source. This goes through the last several years since the police fee was initiated in 2017. And you can see that the vast majority of the support comes from the general fund resources. That's property tax, franchise fees. The police services fee is a much smaller percentage of the total revenue supporting the police department. And then the items that are dedicated to the police department are significantly smaller than the police services fee. So overall, you can see in 25-26 about a $2 million increase in what is being required of the general fund. That correlates to the chart right below it, police department expenses and full-time equivalents. You can see that the vast majority of the expenses within the police department are personnel related. And as we move towards being fully staffed, we're seeing about a $2 million jump in personnel costs. Overall, the personnel costs are about 85% of the police fund. So when we talk about having to cinch our belts, it gets really challenging not to do that if we don't look at personnel. If we flip the page, you can see a little bit of history on our police services fee. You can see that started back in 2017-18, that was a partial year. We received $424,000. That has grown over time. During 24-25, we saw about $1.2 million. The initial strategy when we started in 2017 is we wanted to set a fee that we didn't have to adjust for several years, and we held true to that. We didn't adjust the fee again until January of 2022. And unfortunately with police, as I indicated before, it's primarily personnel costs, and those have a tendency to go up every year. So that's why since 2022, you're seeing an increase in the police services fee every year until we got to 2025, and we put a hold on it, and now we're considering it again in 2026. So if you turn to the next page, several things to consider. This is a breakdown of the police fee itself. So we have roughly 11,800 accounts in the city of Kaiser. Residential, single family, and duplexes make up the vast majority, about 2/3 of the police services fee. And then multifamily makes up about a fourth, and then the irrigation, government, and commercial is a fairly small number. If you do 0% increase, we'll see police services fee of about 1.2 million. If we do the 10% fee as approved by the budget committee, that number will be 1,250,000. There was some talk about breaking out the commercial and charging them on a per ESU basis. If we were not to increase the service fee at all, but just change how we build the commercial, the number would go to 1,334,000. Anecdotally, when we do that, we will see some large box retailers go from about $100 a year to about $13,000 a year as far as the police services fee go. So with that, you have several options tonight. I feel like I've been talking a long time. You can adopt the attached resolution increasing the police services fee by 10%. You can propose an alternate service fee amount. You can take no action, or you can identify an alternate revenue source. And with that, I'd be free to address any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That was a lot of information. Thank you for being so comprehensive in the materials put out, especially to the public. And I will be asking for public comment after we have questions from the city council. So looking at council, questions, Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood, I noticed in your staff report, or in one of, I think it was in the packet, in the city council packet, there was no anticipated change in the amount of TOT dollars coming in.
That is correct. I'm not sure the timing of the third hotel. So if that does come in sometime during this fiscal year, we will see an impact from that.
When do we, so can you walk me through when we typically get payments on the TOT funds?
Sure. Good question. We typically receive quarterly payments, and they're typically due within 30 days at the end of the quarter. So right now, with September 30th, we're seeing the revenues from, we received in October the revenues from the quarter ending September 30th.
Okay, and how did those revenues look?
About spot on with where we anticipated as far as the budget was.
Okay, thank you. I have another follow-up, thank you. So I think I asked this question, I've had 2 really hard phone calls with my mom in the last couple weeks. And I don't think, they weren't phone calls meant to be hard, but it was hard for me to hear when she's talking about the cost of food, right? She's on a fixed income. And then today it was about the changes that she's having to make to be able to feed her cat because of the cost of everything going up. And so I think my concern, while I wholeheartedly support our police department and funding the police department, I think that we have to let our task force finish their work in exploring the different funding options. But first, that's part one. But part two, if I'm taking these calls from my mom and she's not calling to complain or it's just in conversation, but I think about this fee and what that would do to her if she were having to absorb these increases in the garbage rates, the, utility rates, all of the different, everything is going up. And we have within our control on the city council the ability to help alleviate some of that burden on our residents. And I say all that in asking, are we looking at, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Brown, but are we looking in the next, 3 months, 6 months, anything where we can, we keep talking about these potential real estate transactions and things that I am hopeful are coming before the city. I'm asking us to look at other alternatives rather than adding yet one more fee right now. Because if my mom's having conversations with me about having to change, like whether or not she can feed her cat. It's a cat. But I have to think that this is the same impact that this is gonna have on our other residents. And so I'm imploring our staff to look at other things that might be coming down the pipeline in the next few months to look for alternatives, because I couldn't look my mom in the face and say, yeah, Mom, I know you're having a hard time buying food, but yet we're gonna add one more fee onto your water bill. And that is the lens in which I'm looking at the conversation about we've got to look at a different alternative. And I am 100% behind looking at this commercial per ESU recalculation. I just don't know that we have the time to have that conversation tonight. And so I can't ask, if I couldn't ask my mom to pay another fee because she's having a hard time buying food, I can't ask our residents to do that.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Counselor Christopher, and then I'll circle down this way.
Thank you. There's no one on this council that doesn't know how I'm going to vote on this. I do not believe that we have the ability to impose discretionary taxes without a vote of the people. The people of Oregon are screaming at the top of their lungs. Right now, they're screaming at the top of their lungs with the transportation tax, with the
Chariots.
with chariots tax, with the payroll tax. They're screaming at the top of their lungs. I hear them. I stand with them. You will never hear me vote for a discretionary tax that doesn't come without a vote of the people. We've got a task force initiated, and they're working on what the solution is. We have alternatives. We can do interfund borrowing. We can do contingency borrowing. This is $58,000. This is not the long-term solution, but it's a short-term solution that doesn't put an additional tax on the back of our Kaiser residents. And it will get us through this year. And I agree with you, we have multiple things going now. We've got our direction reset, and it's in economic development. We have resources. We own property that we can sell. And if we sell that property, that helps everybody in Kaiser, because those resources can then be used to fund things like our police department. I already told the chief tonight, I'm voting against you, but we'll get you the money, because there are other places to get that money, and it's not on the backs of our Kaiser residents. I have full confidence in our task force that they will come to us with a proposal, and we'll all get an opportunity to vote on that. And I know we'll support it, just as Salem supported their livability bond, where they went out on a library, which I've been told, I can't tell you how many times, they're unpassable. And parks, unpassable. But guess what? That passed in Salem. If you ask folks and give them an opportunity to vote on the things that they feel are important, those things will be passed. So I'm a no tonight. I hear everything you're saying. And if my mom was still living, she'd kill me if I voted for that.
So I'm going to press pause because we've just gotten into deliberation.
Sorry. I have no questions.
I'd like to take questions from council.
Actually, I'll give you a question.
Okay, stand by.
Okay.
Because I need to give other people a chance to talk and ask their questions. We'll also be taking comments from the people who are here.
Great.
Under public comment. Then we can put a motion on the table and deliberate. But I want to make sure we get questions answered before I go further deliberation, okay? So press pause. I'm going to go to Councilor Duran. Do you have any questions? Okay. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question for you, Tim, is where are we at? I haven't heard any updates on that opioid money, because I do know that we transferred some of that over to the chief. So where are we at with that for this year? We're tracking higher, lower, like,
We are significantly lower.
okay.
So
What is significant? 5%, 10%?
How much are we getting?
Yes.
I'm visualizing it in my head right now. I believe first year, I think we got about 70,000. Last year, I believe we were about 50,000. The challenge is there's about 20 different agreements with the opioid settlement funds. And the people can pay when, it feels like they can pay whenever they want to, and they can make multiple payments in a given year. So there's not a very consistent schedule.
Right, but it is most of those, if I'm right, isn't it 20 years that we'll get paid for?
You are correct, yes.
Okay, I think there is just some chance for creativity there. And this question could be for either one of you. I know that we're looking at that general fund budget, and you said, you know, it looks like we're running low on the alcohol sales. Have we done anything internally, like limiting out-of-state travel with staff, or have we tried to cut anywhere else? besides just automatically saying, hey, police?
So, we've eliminated alcohol sales in City Hall. Here, staff cannot have any liquor,
Okay,
so that's
that's
not
good.
helped us, but, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we could, we want to take a long-term approach towards things when investing in your people is, when you're a people-driven organization is
Right.
important.
Yeah, I just think that the $58,000, for the way it will affect the residents seems like a small amount. So I'm wondering what we have done internally before we put it on the backs of the people.
I want to remind the council why this is in front of you. This isn't in front of you because staff wanted to bring it back. This is in front of you because the budget committee
No, I understand that.
and council asked to bring it back.
Yeah.
Is $60,000 is not going to kill us this year. There's obviously a much bigger problem, a $2 million problem. And that's, whatever we do or don't do will just impact us and the committee. The committee's got to solve the $2 million problem, and the $60,000 is, again, not going to hurt us now. The proceeds that we have potentially from sales, the best strategy in my mind is to put those towards the site account, because we can leverage 25% match instantly. And then we're saving a couple $100,000 every year in perpetuity versus saving maybe $600,000 one year and then it's gone. So, but that's, again, I think that's the best strategy going forward. But I wouldn't recommend that you use property sale money to fill a $60,000 hole, or to address the larger hole, using it to invest in the site account to bring down our annual obligation. That could lower our annual obligation by $500,000 to $1,000 to $1 million if paid down. And that would cut the problem in half.
Follow-up?
Follow-up, thank you. And then next question, with that hotel being probably built and ready to go next year, we'll see an increase in our TLT funds.
Not till next budget.
Next budget, yep.
Yeah, you're right, Councilor
Right?
Cross.
So it'll probably be about a good 25-30% of what we already received.
Probably.
Yeah, we'd hope,
Yep.
yeah.
And right now, what are we getting, about 700,000 a year
No.
in TLT?
Go ahead.
Mr. Wood?
Madam Mayor, City Council, we're closer to 350,000.
350?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then another 100-ish thousand?
Probably.
Okay, well, that will help.
It's,
All right, thank
It's
you.
all, yeah, piece of a big pie that needs to be put together.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I love our police.
Aren't you going to do I Love America too?
I love America too.
Counselor Kohler, did you have any questions?
I'll pass. Most of the questions I ask in the task force meetings.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor Christopher, you had a question?
Thanks. So if we don't vote to increase the fees, what would your recommendation be on where we pick up the 58,000? Would it be contingency? Would it be in an interfund transfer? What would your recommendation be? And do we, yeah, here,
I would just pick it up in contingency.
great, okay, thank you.
Okay, now Counselor Duran.
I thought of something. What would it take to go through with this commercial per ESU? I mean, how long would it take? I know that'll be, but in your opinion now, how long would it take to generate that or get that up and get us the information to make that decision?
Good question. I think when we originally talked back in June, we set the November timeline, assuming that maybe we could get it done in December. I think realistically, could we do that? Probably, but I don't think that would give us enough time to give the notice out to impacted folks. I would hate to just drop a huge bill on someone without giving them time to know about it. So I would think that if we were to make a change like that, mechanically, could we do it in a month? Probably. But I think to get the notice out, I think we would need 3 months.
Well, the way you have it listed here, that's $84,000. So if we held off doing anything and we picked it up 3 months down the road, we'd be able to get our target for the next year, even if it was, 9 months instead of 12 months, because you're projecting 84,000 and we only need 60. So it would probably work out for the next year. I just wanted to see, so that would help in the future.
Mr. Wood?
Madam Mayor, City Council, I like the idea, I like the path that you're going.
Yeah.
However, I think maybe if we're going to push it out, maybe just wait till the task force is done with their work.
Right, well, no, I'm just thinking for future while I was thinking about it.
Thank you, Counselor Duran. I had made a note of that as well. Also, in order to have that conversation, I would encourage us to engage with the business community and the chamber in that conversation about what that looks like, because we do know that most of our small businesses are one ESU, and ESU is that's based on our stormwater facility charges, and it's a service unit. I don't remember what the E stands for. Equivalent, thank you, equivalent service unit. So homes, for example, are one. And the businesses, it depends on their size, Target, Lowe's, some of the larger ones are several. But a lot of our smaller businesses are one or a subset thereof. Would that be a fair statement? Okay. So theirs wouldn't go up. It would be the larger retail facilities that would have the increase, and that's what you're looking at here with the commercial.
And that's part of the data that we requested.
Right, so, right. And I think part of that is, for folks who haven't had a chance to read the police services report that has been published, I highly recommend that read. There's tons of really good information on there on the types of services and the diversity of services provided by our police.
But that's a good report.
Yeah, it was extremely well done.
There's more to come.
Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. The speed at which that could be implemented is, it could be done pretty quick. I think the biggest is, would be how much community conversations you wanted to have around it. I think that would probably be the only, the time determiner, if you will. If we had public hearings or just information out there or hosted information, whatever type of engagement you wanted to do around that would, I think, be the biggest factor for us rolling it out.
Okay. So at this point, are there any other questions? Okay. What I'd like to do is invite members of the, who are here, who would like to comment on this, the police fee. So anybody who would like to offer comment, you are welcome to come on up, give your name and your city of residence, and you have time to share your thoughts. All right.
Tammy Kunz, Kaiser.
Jacqueline Kaiser.
I agree with you, Shani. The fee phone calls, I don't even know how to answer them anymore. I am a huge supporter of the work being done with the police task force fee. And a huge supporter of our police department. My concern is our residents. Jackie and I field phone calls all the time about the different fees, and with the government shutdown, people still haven't received SNAP. So they're trying to figure out, how am I supposed to feed my families? And we've been doing a little bit of scrambling, trying to address that with all the community resources. And most of you know how tapped our food banks are getting right now because everybody is freaking out. The board for the neighborhood association is working on a letter in support of police fees to support the police task force side of things and provide additional support in that aspect. I love what you do. I love the community safety that people are feeling. People aren't afraid to talk to you guys anymore. The ICE thing has a little bit of a damper on that at the moment, but we're overcoming that one person at a time and just kind of muddling through. But what you guys do matters. So for that part, please don't see this as a downfall because you matter to our community. And you show up. No matter what time or day, you guys always show up.
Right now, and people are asking Tammy and I how to get the food boxes to feed their families for Thanksgiving because it's so high with the government shutdown. And they want the Kaiser police, but they're scared about feeding their families and supporting their families with housing.
All right. Any questions for Tammy and Jackie? All right, thank you so much. Anyone else who'd like to address the council about the police fees? Mr. Grant?
Hello, my name is Joe Grant, and I live in Kaiser. And I'm on the budget committee, so a little step ahead. I'm looking forward to hearing that. I love our Kaiser police, and I love that normally, in compared to a community nearby, if you call an officer, you might see one in Kaiser, and you maybe don't if you're in Salem, and I appreciate that. The thing that I was most impressed tonight was hearing, I think it was Counselor Cross, maybe it wasn't, that said, what else have we looked at, how we could fund that in a different way within the money we do have. And just as a community member, I liked hearing that it wasn't a no to Kaiser Police, because I think we need to support that. But also, is there another way to support it that is not impacting families in the same way? I just want you to know I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no further comments from folks here, is there a motion that a council member would like to put on the table at this time? Well, what I've heard conversation about is two things. One, asking staff to include the commercial ESU model in looking at the police fee structure. Is that a direction we would like to see us go forward with?
I think that's in the,
Is it already in the task force?
it's already in the task force.
Okay, so that's already included in that body of work. Counselor Christopher?
I got a motion. I would like to move that we postpone taking action on item 9C until March 1? Are you going to have it done by then? What do you need?
I think Mr. Brown, where are we at? How close are we on the call data that we were looking for?
We have data, it's just the analysis.
raw.
And
Yeah, okay.
visualization of it. So we're talking weeks, not months, so.
Okay.
So
February?
let's do a check-in and,
Yeah,
let's do a check-in in February or March.
Let's push it to February, second meeting in February. If we have to, we can extend it, but that would be my motion is to push item 9C to the February calendar second meeting. And it needs a second.
I'll second.
There's your second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council postpone agenda item 9C until the second regular meeting in February 2026. Is that a fair restatement?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then we'll have more info.
Discussion. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say that I agree with Lori Christopher. Anyone that knows me knows that I will not vote yes on fees. I think it should be a vote of the people. People are struggling right now. Our community is struggling. Small businesses are struggling, and we're struggling for food. And this is a time to look at different ways of getting this done and being super supportive of our Kaiser Police and Chief Copeland.
Thank you. Further comments? Discussion?
Here's my further comment.
Councilor Christopher?
You know this is not about you. And you know we're going to give you the resources that you need to continue to take care of us in the manner that you've taken care of us. You know that. You know you've got a 7-0 vote up here for support of Kaiser Police. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you. Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So when we're putting, and maybe I'm looking at Coach on this, or I'm looking at Mr. Lindsay, Coach Lindsay, or Mr. Brown, where would it be the 58,800? Do we have to? Should we build that in to the motion or a friendly amendment to look at contingency on that? Or how do we
Just postpone the vote.
just put, no, or just,
And I'm acknowledging Tim Wood's head at the same time. No, because right now, there doesn't even seem to need to be a supplemental budget even yet.
No,
okay,
I would
great.
just recommend
I
just
just wanted to
postponing.
look for clarification if we needed action on that. Thank you, or direction. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I really appreciate the incredible quality of work that's being done by our police staff in the report that we got. That was the most comprehensive analysis of our police services that I've seen in a very, very long time. Way back a long time ago, we had to take some really hard looks at our level of service. And this is the most comprehensive look I've seen in modern day policing. Is talking about drones and license plate readers and technology that is equipping our police to be more effective in more places without actually physically having to be there. And being able to allow them to do their job better. Technology and proper tools, I think we all agree, are so important to equip these very highly skilled caring professionals with what they need. So I really want to affirm that, and I love the conversation that is happening with the Police Services Task Force. One of the things I said very early on, when we started the task force, was be ready for the answer to be more. That based on our level of service, we might need more of something or more of a particular type of service. And one of the things that was in that report that blew my mind was the large number of diverse services that our police need to cover. There's a couple pages in there that have everything from opioids, sex trafficking, the retail crime, domestic violence, traffic, It was a huge list of the different types of calls for service that people in our community have. And have to make sure that our police are trained and equipped to respond in those areas. So I think we have to be ready for that answer to be more, but the data will show us in what way it's more.
Yep.
But I also agree, in an earlier conversation, we were talking about fees going up on hearing from our garbage haulers on an annual basis, hearing from our utilities on an annual basis, making incremental changes so we don't have to do jumps. And I think this is another area where, pushing off the small increase, we might end up with a jump. So I think we have to be okay with that. If we can't find other alternative funding streams, we might. but we operate really lean. Everybody on our budget committee knows just how lean we operate and get the value of every dollar. So I want us, to get that on the record that this could be a yes and. I'm going to support this motion because I think data is power. And we might end up with a bigger increase later on because we can demonstrate that we need it. But I think that one of the strengths will be that people will know what we're buying. We'll know what we're buying with the results of the task force and the ongoing conversation. So I'm going to be a yes on this. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you for those words. I just want to be on the record that whether that increase is small or big, I'm all about it going to the vote of the people.
They'll decide.
They'll decide.
And just to make sure, this particular motion is only dealing with this, this postponement of dealing with the level of the fee.
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've kind of kept silent on this a little bit because we spend so much time in the task force talking about different things. I have been amazed at the number of cases that our detectives are carrying each week, each day. That's, I think, over 20 cases at a time. I think that's asking a lot for our detectives. And there may be some additional funding that we're going to need to figure out, but I think that figuring out needs to happen after the task force.
Okay. Councilor Parsons, I want to make sure I loop you in. Any discussion, comments?
I will support this motion, that's all.
All right, thank you very much. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's why I say, if you want no, then you say no. All right. That concludes administrative action this evening. We will go now to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new oral matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Brown, does staff have any other business for this evening?
No other business, but Council President Starr, should I leave that announcement for you or about the public safety work group?
Yes.
Okay.
I have two things then.
All right. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Public Safety Task Force, because we have the data, the raw data, we don't have it analyzed yet. We have decided to postpone our meeting that was originally scheduled on Wednesday to allow staff to synthesize that data so that we can then, you can see the correlation between that staffing report and then the call data report. And then the second thing that I would ask to come up on next agenda is a conversation about, I don't even know where to go with this, but there was some conversation at the West Kaiser Neighborhood Association about the long-range task force and the direction to the parks.
Restoration of the pavilion.
Yeah, the master planning. The understanding was that was supposed to go before the Parks Board in December. And I think there's gonna be, I'd like to see that as an agenda item at the December meeting, the first December City Council meeting. I know Councilor Duran and I were both at that meeting and they asked to have a conversation about not asking the Parks Board to make a decision on that in December until there's more conversation.
Follow-up
Brown?
question there. So, the Parks Board saw it to get their input on it, and then it was going before them again to make a recommendation to council. So are you asking to have a discussion about it
Before the Parks, I
At the
think,
council meeting before the Parks Board?
yeah, I think the conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor Duran, but I think the request was that it not, that it come back to council to have some conversation before, because I think there was some misunderstanding and miscommunication and, with the neighborhood association, there was just not a rush. I think there was the concern that it was being rushed to the Parks Board to bring it back to council. So they wanted a conversation. That's,
Yeah, I think that they feel that they need more information and more public information.
Yeah.
More information from the public before they can make a decision. That's how I read it.
right. So they didn't want it
They-
to go to the Parks Board.
Who's
So-
they?
The Parks Board.
No, the
The
Parks
neighborhood
Board and the
association
Neighborhood Association,
Wanted to
yeah.
have more information to the Parks Board.
Want to go Mr. Brown first?
My only concern about that would be having a input session at the council meeting would kind of jump the decision of the Parks Committee.
I'm
But
just,
we can do whatever you want, though.
I'm just for bringing it back from the Neighborhood Association.
Yeah. And we've actually been in pretty constant contact with West Kaiser Neighborhood Association. And they've done their own surveys and they've participated in our surveys and, yeah. But I hear you, this is coming from them, so.
We were there, yeah.
So, and I'll come to you, Councilor Christopher. So is the request to have this conversation at one of our December meetings with the neighbor association or in conjunction with
No,
Parks?
let me pull
I'm
up
really
the-
confused.
Let me pull up, go ahead, Counselor, I'm pulling up the email.
Okay, Councilor Christopher, oh, there's an
So
email?
I
Okay.
happen to be there too. And, because we finished the strategic plan work group, so I just walked in with them. What they'd kind of like to see is a town hall and just invite more people in to talk about the restoration of the pavilion. The pavilion was originally in there. If those of us old people who have been around a year or so will remember, it was called the Something Special.
That was Kaiser Station.
No, it was in the park. It was the
There
something.
was one there too.
There was the
Yeah.
Something Special in the park. And so that was never really determined what that was. So Matt Lawyer, I thought, did an outstanding job with West Kaiser Neighborhood Association, boiling it down to, it really is a size of not to exceed and a location. But there were a couple of locations determined. And that was interesting to talk about. So that's when Rhonda Rich, who's the chair of West Kaiser, said, how could we invite the public in? Well, that's town halls. So, and what's the rush? We're not in any rush, are we? So why don't we have a town hall
Oh, here
on
it was. Here, I have.
Council President Starr?
Yeah, it was, and this went to myself and Counselor Duran and then I think the neighborhood board. And I apologize, I got this at the very end of the day where I just lost my spot. It was discussed at the Parks Board meeting, so I would assume prior when, I think it was in September, you were covering for it. Was it the
October?
September meeting?
October, Lisa's saying.
October, okay, thank you. That a decision to include one of the venues presented by the consultant would be decided at the December 9th meeting. And that's what they're asking to postpone. Since we were unable, we would like to request opportunities for input at the beginning of next year. So that was in the email. So asking for it to, just to kind of, I think, hit pause, right? And not go to the Parks Board.
For a decision.
For a decision, and then maybe have more conversation. So I wanted to put it see if we could get it on the council to hit pause and talk about if we needed it.
So I think I understand now. The council will discuss it as far as process.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So just be clear, it would be, what are the next steps in the possible master plan amendment?
Process and the outreach plan.
Process, outreach, and communication. What I'm also hearing is maybe a joint work session with the Parks Board if we need to have a more broad conversation, because that would be also the opportunity for all of us to hear the information. I have not heard the presentation yet. I haven't had time to go back and listen to that meeting. I understand it was extremely robust, conversation. Would the council be open to a work session on kind of a check-in on where this is at, rather than try to fold it into a council meeting where we're time constrained?
I think they were more interested in more public outreach. That's what I heard.
So-
I heard town hall.
And I think there was questions about what the contractor, the scope of work with the consultant, and I'm looking at Carolyn because she was at the meeting too, as I'm fumbling my way through this. But there were questions about the scope of the consultant contract, and the potential for council to maybe need to, review that or revisit the scope of that.
Is that what was rushing the decision?
Scope, that was a question. So I think if we just maybe bring it back as a discussion item for further direction at the next council meeting, I think would be ideal.
We can do that.
So if the scope of the conversation, so we don't end up in a large discussion about the pavilion itself, but our process.
Correct.
Okay, now I understand, thank you. So to have a conversation about options for the process, you can answer the questions about what the scope of work and where we are with the contract with the master plan. And then we can all understand what our next steps might be and how we engage more with the community on if, and if so, where, and if so, how big, if, and if. Okay? Is that a fair summation?
Yeah.
Got it. I'm looking at, do you have a member of the Parks Board? So I think what I'm also hearing is not ask the Parks Board to make a decision in December. Because it doesn't sound like we're ready for prime time yet. Is that a fair assessment? Lisa, I'd like to invite you up because.
Because you can see my face.
Yes, I am reading that there's much information to share and I'd love to hear directly from you.
All right. When we first got the information, it seemed like we had a whole bunch of different pavilion styles when they were talking about adding a pavilion. At the end of the day, our only decision was supposed to be whether to add the possibility of a pavilion back into the master plan for parks. So that was the only choice that we were going to be making in December, to either add it back into the master plan or to leave it out. So.
Okay.
So we weren't going to make a big choice, but right now, I mean, after hearing all of the things about fees and all of this, talking about a pavilion that is beautiful and shining and golden with lots and lots of things is kind of a rough thing to think about right now. So.
That is what I remember this master plan was about. And if we're going to add it back in the master plan, it could be just conceptual, whether we want to add it back in for a someday.
Right.
Rather than doing a design. So the information you all were given at Parks, and again, I haven't had time to go back and listen to the meeting, that was very involved.
Yes.
Materials?
It was overwhelming, is what it was. It was overwhelming.
In a size 8 font.
Oh, that is totally not acceptable.
Yeah.
Mr.
On
Lloyd.
11 by 14 piece of paper.
Yeah. All right. Lisa, can you stand by for a second?
Yeah.
Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. After that Parks Board meeting, the consultants and I and Robert got together and talked about next steps.
Okay.
We have put together, I just got this last week, I was going to send it this week to the Parks Board, 2 questions for them to consider and think about for the December meeting, okay? Basically, should it be, where should it be? The what is it is not a question. That's not being discussed. Should it be, where should it be? Okay? That's the questions for the Parks Board. And the consultants told me that in their reading of our master plan, there is reference, and I didn't write down where he found this, there's reference to pavilions in parks already in the master plan. So it's not a big lift, a big stretch, a big change in what What is it? Where is it? Okay? It's already referenced in the master plan, so I'm a little confused. Do I send this information to the Parks Board now? Do I stop? Do I hold off? I'm looking for direction, because I really am confused on where this is going, and if I'm gonna be here to see it finished. So, I'm looking for some direction, honestly. Should I send this to the Parks Board for them to consider for the December meeting? I feel like I should, because it's boiled down, and we clearly understood the Parks Board was overwhelmed. Clearly got that, okay? And we're trying to simplify it and let them have time to think it through, come up with questions they all have, so that the consultant can answer them through the meeting.
This is what they were given, Bill.
I know.
Yeah. He was there. What in the world could you possibly confuse? Should it be in for, like you said, is it conceptual for sometime in the future? When they've been given this, font size 8.
I'm going to go to
Yes.
Counselor Duran. Yes.
Thank you. I think the biggest concern is where. Why are we deciding where it's going to be now? I think that was the biggest concern that people had is, we're making this big decision and we're going to stick it in a spot that it may be 5-10 years before it gets built. Is that wise to put it to give a location now?
To name a location.
It almost has to be, it has to have a location shown in the park.
In
To be-
the master plan?
In the master plan.
Does it have to
Not-
have one, or could it be like, here's 3 alternatives, or? I'm just asking.
I would say it needs to be in an area of the park,
Oh, with the
okay?
activity center.
So
I don't know
think-
what the activity center is.
Well, that was.
There's
that
no
was-
activity
Side
center
of the
identified in the master
bifurcation
plan for
fence.
Kaiser Rapids Park, so I'm confused by that. My point is this, establish this, what is it and where does it go? That's the questions being asked of the Parks Board to be forwarded to the council, okay? The goal is for that to be adopted into the master plan. We all understand the goal. And you can put it in an area of the park, not a physical, this is where it goes, but let's say this area, okay? And when it comes time to build it, if that is, something's changed in 10 years, you amend the master plan. The same thing we did with the big toy. If you remember with the big toy, where was the spot?
Not there.
There was a spot identified in the master plan. And that is not where it got built. We
That's right.
amended the master plan very quickly to identify a new spot for the big toy, and that's where it got built. My point is, that's a pretty quick process, okay? To amend the master plan for a location change, okay?
Okay. I do too. So I think we've got, I'm sorry, Counselor Duran, did you want to follow up?
I think that was the biggest hangup, is the
Yeah.
neighborhood association saying,
Yeah.
well, they're kind of talking about it, putting it south of the big toy, and that's gonna end up being close to the neighbors, if that's what they're talking about. So the neighborhood association's going, well, why don't we get a chance to talk about this if it's gonna be close to us?
And exactly what is it?
Yeah.
We don't know.
The exactly what is it is not a question being asked right now,
Thank you.
okay?
Okay, well,
It's-
that's
it's-
That's what
it's-
they need
town
to
hall.
know.
Yeah.
And that's what I think where part of the challenge is that they didn't know, like, that maybe hasn't been communicated in a way that was clear.
I think we had more than
this is
scope
why.
creep. I
Yeah.
think we had scope, explosion.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
It is. It was like if you were giving a picture of 10 different cars and all of the different amenities and all the different, the seats and whether it has a sunroof and all of these different cars. And you're like, at the end, it's like, so should we get a car or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you go. We forgot to pass these out with it.
Yes, we need a loop.
But I think, and I feel sorry with council. I know that we were talking about this being for a future, but we do have a few minutes. Are we okay with wrapping up this conversation? We do have Carolyn here from the Neighborhood Association.
Come on down.
Any
Carolyn.
objection? No. Come on down, the price is right.
No, I think this is good. I mean, I think that's the
That's what we
confusion.
wanted, is to clarify the
Yeah,
confusion.
let's get this clarified, so you know what you're doing in December. Carolyn, thanks for joining us.
Well, I think, I was there at the meeting too. I took notes. So I believe that one of the main comments was there were not enough citizen input. There was a booth at Kaiser Fest that a lot of people couldn't find, including me. I went through twice before I found it and commented. There were 50 comments.
55, yeah.
Rhonda has the numbers. Not all of those people were Kaiser residents. So 30 to 35 Kaiser residents commented on a facility of some sort or not. And so Lori brought up a town hall. And then we got into the contract because Matt wasn't sure if the consultant could, because it's the holidays. You can't, if you have a town hall now, who's going to come? So we already have, the neighborhood development plan coming up this week, for the Isle of A or whatever it is. So, it's a busy time. So I think that was that's always been a main concern. That's why West Kaiser neighborhood has done 2 surveys of our own, just of people that come to our meetings, because we don't feel there's been enough outreach. And I've talked to people, they're like, a pavilion? I knew of no pavilion. What are you talking about? So I think I just wanted to make that point, that for the neighborhood, that was a big deal.
And
More outreach.
I've been watching and I haven't seen any outreach. And I keep my finger on the Kaiser Facebook page and all that stuff, looking for it.
A little bit.
So,
and also part of that is when we redid the Parks Master Plan, that's how, in the Kaiser Rapids Park, there was a mention of a pavilion up until we redid the master plan, and there was no discussion, no interest in having it move forward. That's why it got dropped.
COVID.
Was it the
It was
basketball? Was it the
2021.
basketball center, though? There was talk of a.
We have basketball center and so forth, but that
I didn't know if
didn't
that
make
was
it
the
into this
pavilion.
iteration. I'm gonna go, Mr. Lawyer.
For clarity's sake, in the last full update of the Kaiser Parks Master Plan, the multi-use sports facility, 50,000 square foot facility, modeled after the Hoop in South Salem, that was established by the Something Special Committee, was removed from the master plan. This was never a pavilion, ever. It was a 50,000 square foot indoor sports facility. So we need to get the terminology correct, okay? It was never a pavilion. What is a pavilion? I don't even know what that is, okay? Yeah, that's terminology has kind of been a struggle with this whole process because of that very term,
I
okay?
agree.
What this started out as was a request for something
Special.
that the Kaiser Fest could hold their event underneath and not have to rent a tent. That was the original request that started this whole master plan amendment process. And it's evolved and snowballed from there, okay? The term pavilion was selected, and that was a bad choice. I'll just say that. It was a bad choice. So we've continued to try to get through the process and finish the process, not changing the term, but changing the vision a little bit, instead of focusing on what it is. Should it be there? Where should it be? And
Ish.
that's the way
Where-ish.
we've kind of changed the narrative, if you will, a little bit, so.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, if we should, at the end of the day, say we should consider this a covered space.
Yes.
Within an area, because where-ish should it be? Obviously, there are areas in the park where we can't allow it because those are supposed to be natural areas. So clearly there's an activity area. So delineation of an area that in the future could be considered without a major amendment. We'd have to do a minor amendment anyway to pinpoint the location. Is that correct?
No, if it's shown, I'm gonna say this, and don't anybody throw anything at me, okay?
Okay, you're safe.
If it was shown to be where the dog park is now, okay? Let's just say that. It doesn't have to be an exact part. It could be moved up by Shamawa Road or farther from Shamawa Road, okay?
Ish.
And the dog park gets relocated, all right? My point is, it doesn't have to be in an exact spot, it just has to be in the area. So if it was to be said, in the newly seeded field down by the river, okay, which I hope that's not where it ends up, because that's not the intent. But that would be enough, okay? It wouldn't have to be in the northern portion or the western portion, no,
We'd lose
just
a lot of
in that
balls.
open field area, okay? Those are just two examples of what we're looking for to be included in the master plan. It does not have to be, now, I talked about the big toy earlier. The big toy was originally shown down near the boating facility, okay? South of the pathway, that the road that Wallsway crosses, it was just south of that. In fact, we used material from the boat ramp to level out a spot for the big toy, all right? Well, when it came time for big toy design, it was determined that wasn't big enough. That just wasn't big enough. We need a bigger spot. So it got moved to where it is today, okay?
Yeah. So great examples. They'll go to Councilor Christopher, and then other comments on where they're from here. So we can wrap up this conversation, because we're coming up on.
Bill,
time
you've
to go.
been really helpful, because I think that the neighborhood association got mired in, here, pick one, which one you want, and that wasn't all what it was intended to be. It was intended to be, put the placeholder back in there, because at some time in the future, something could happen. As it is now, we can't receive or accept any money to do anything anywhere, because it's not in the master plan. But
It makes it a lot more difficult, that's correct.
yeah, and so could we say in the activity center, which that's what we called it in the original master plan, there was the green space that we weren't gonna put anything in, and that's where that fence bifurcates north and south, and that was on the south end, and it's all green and beautiful. And then there was the activity space, and there's a lot of activity going on in that activity space. But can we say that we're going to put a covered something somewhere in the activity center, or do we have to narrow that down?
No, it could be, if it was identified that it was, this goes from the previous city attorney, okay, who made the determination on whether an amendment for the master plan was needed or not. If it's in the general area, it's good. You don't have
An
to.
activity center is the general area, because that opens it, that gives us maximum flexibility, which this could happen 20 years from now.
And depending on what it
I won't
ends
be
up
here if I-
being, you know, in the vision of that pavilion, for lack of a better term, if it
Covered
were to.
space. I liked what-
If it
I
were to
liked what
turn
Kathy
into
said,
something that was, or wedding venue, let's just say that. And used regularly, it might make more sense to put it up by Shamawa Road.
Well,
And keep the activity, like the turf fields, away from the rest of the park, okay?
But you're saying that, we wouldn't have to say that as long as we said it's got to be in the activity center portion of Kaiser Rapids. Then future people who had money to buy this and build this thing could determine through a public process then where it goes.
When you figure out exactly what it is,
That's
then you might
exactly
want to
what we-
amend the plan
that's
again.
exactly
Yeah,
what we
exactly.
anticipated,
Yeah.
Bill.
Thank you. I'm going to go Mr. Brown.
I think since this subject wasn't advertised on the meeting tonight,
Oh,
that
sorry.
it would probably be better to,
That's why I asked
Push
for
it.
it to be on the agenda.
Yes, you did.
yes.
When I very first started.
I would go back to Council President's motion.
Now you get it.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So what we can do is, and thank you for that, we have a ton of clarification now.
Yeah, we do.
And ask staff to come back
holding
with
on to this.
a report on the process for
Next step.
for clarifying the steps of putting a covered facility in the activity area of Kaiser Rapids Park.
Perfect, Mayor.
Does that work?
Yep.
And an outreach plan.
Including an outreach plan? Or clarification of the.
Yes, thank you.
Including a clarification of the outreach plan. What was the other thing on your note?
Verbiage,
Yeah.
scope, and outreach.
Yeah. Pardon? Okay. No, shape is really big. Okay, so including, the verbiage, so we're
Scope
clear
and
on what we're
outreach.
talking about. And the, and outreach and
Scope.
clarification on the scope and what we are asking from the Parks Board and anybody else involved.
Sounds great.
Are we good?
I'm saving this forever as my favorite government document.
All right. So Lori has some new art called Bureaucrat Ease.
Yes.
To frame for the gallery. There we go.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
I'm going to attach magnifying glass.
I'm afraid to ask, is there any other business? Nope, let's go to staff, staff updates. Thank you both very much for participating in this conversation. We appreciate Lisa and Carolyn for jumping in and helping us out. Mr. Brown, any staff updates?
Just two. One, I want to make sure people understand that that document was made from a private business, not the government, so.
Okay.
Two is exciting news today. The emergency operations plan is finished by the consultant, so the emergency planning committee can move forward with that next step. So we can talk later about whether we want to wait till after the holidays to do it, or if somebody's looking for something to do between December. So. That's all.
That is very good news. Thank you very much. Mr. Cleaver.
Just a plug that the city has begun its formal search for our next Public Works Director. So that is out on the streets. And of course, there's plenty of information on our website, kaiseror.gov, and that's being widely advertised.
When does it close?
We're hoping to do the first review of resumes the first week of December. So we've got a few weeks out there.
Very
fast.
few. It's like, get on it. All right.
Get your application in.
But I heard that this will be first review, so it won't close until you have candidates that you're ready to move forward with. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. But don't wait. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, I have two items. One, the CDEC wanted to pass along that they'd like to get together with you folks twice a year. They're currently looking at February and September. During the agenda planning meetings, we can discuss specific timing. Just wanted to give you that heads up, though. Second is, we are in the middle of the sewer reset period. So if you want your pocketbook to look a little better into the new year, conserve as much water as you possibly can. The tip for this month is, since it is Thanksgiving, when you bring home your leftovers, just fill up your water bottles at your neighbor's house. That will save you. Leftovers do include water, so plan accordingly.
Okay.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
All right, thank you very much, and to you as well. Ms. Bissett.
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Chief.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Councilors, and just a reminder that if you use your neighbor's water, it's theft of services, and the friendly police department will come see you. Just kidding, we probably won't. Your neighbors will love you for it, I'm sure. No, you get our weekly updates, and City Managers Brown, we've been busy, staying busy, and anyways, we're 3 people in the academy still, and we do have, I just found out today, which is great, our new officer Harrison, which you get to meet December 1, will be off of his lateral FTEP hopefully tomorrow. So he'll be on the road working, but you'll get to meet him next council meeting.
That's wonderful. So do we have open positions, or are they now going to be full staffed?
We are really close. So yeah, thank you for that. We're still down 1 full-time officer.
You're down to 1?
It's
Bravo.
a miracle. We're getting closer. Yes.
Okay. That is very good news. Thank you. And just so folks listening know, this has been an ongoing process largely due to people finally figuring out a way to retire. Would that be a fair statement, Chief?
Yes, and we have several retirements coming up. I was just looking at the calendar today.
Dang.
So in the next 2 years, thankfully, I mean, I love it that officers start their career here and will retire here. We do have probably 5 coming in the next 2 years. So I just looked at that at probably 4:45, 5 o'clock tonight. So good times.
Okay. Yes, indeed. More recruitment's underway. But you've done a great job. Thank you to everybody involved. Mr. Lawyer.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Witham.
Just a couple things was alluded to earlier tonight about a neighborhood meeting. I just want to clarify that's not a city meeting. The prospective developer of the Isle of A property they've rented our facility. They've invited the public to come and they want to talk with them and they want to get input, we are expecting as staff that an application will be following. So I know I've kind of talked to many of you a couple different times. This has been, I mean, originally they were talking about doing it back in September. But this is, again, I'll just kind of plug what I did before when we thought the meeting was happening and then they didn't end up doing it. It is happening tomorrow night here at City Hall. My phone's been blowing up a lot of people asking questions. But just to clarify, not a city meeting. They're not in a city process yet. However, and I'll let Mr. Attorney here correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I personally live close to there and I won't be attending. I will not, because I am a staff person who's going to make a recommendation on a future application. And so this is the Isle of A property on River Road. So it is just south of McNary Estates Drive, the McNary Estates, Manzanita, and River Road intersection, the two large fields on the east and west sides of River Road. There's a large barn on the hill and an old house. We used to call it the training house. Our police did a lot of training out there for a season. So yeah, it's a big project. Obviously, could have a pretty significant impact. I would absolutely expect there will be a great level of public involvement in the public hearing processes, which will include public hearings at both the Planning Commission and before City Council. So I reminded Planning Commission this last week, and I'll remind you all, these are those things that it is going to be subject to a public hearing and a quasi-judicial land use decision and decision-making process. So ex parte contact and all of those things come into play. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because somebody had brought it up earlier, and even in that moment, I'm like, oh, it kind of sounds like it's a city meeting. Not a city meeting. No decisions have been made. No application has been filed yet. So, I mean, I personally think the developer's doing a great job in trying to get some word out on what their concept is going to be and get input. And what I've been told is that they want to use that to inform their application that then will be, I guess, forthcoming. So that's really the biggest thing. The other thing is Mayor Clark and Councilor Duran, I finally got a draft of the scenario plan. So I believe I will be bringing that to the full council in the near future. And so, yeah, I'll keep you posted as I know more. So that's it. Thank you.
So you haven't had a chance to read that yet? You just received it?
Oh, no, I've read it.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy. Should we break out the popcorn?
No, it's fine. It's great. It's good. I mean, it is what it's.
Was it pretty much what we expected?
Yeah, yes, it's definitely, there wasn't like big surprises or anything. They basically, it's taken the consultant team a lot longer than all of us anticipated to get everything put together and get everything done with the appendices and all of that. So we do finally have it.
Okay.
Actually, there was a draft last Friday that then there were some immediate things that some of us saw, hey, typos, errors. So I just saw it bounce into my inbox and I haven't opened up the latest, greatest version. I think it's the final version that's actually okay. We've taken all of the input from the TAC and, from all the public involvement for it and moving it forward. So that will be in a future packet. I just don't know when yet, but it's closer to happening than not. Oh, and one last thing, exciting news in my opinion, we're very close. Today, I was CC'd on an email, the ODOT, the Department of Transportation, and the consultant that was selected to do our TSP update and work, that the contract between ODOT and the consultant is, I believe, being sent for review by Department of Justice, like tomorrow. So it will go into that review phase, and that means that we're one step closer to actually starting a TSP update. So.
Wonderful. Ending on a good note. Thank you. Oh, wait, what? Once again?
Burgerville.
That was in an update a couple weeks ago. The permit for the old Sonic building has officially been issued.
Long live sweet potato
So, I mean,
fries.
and Walla Walla sweet onion rings. I mean,
No. They need to get on it. I mean, we've been waiting a long time for this, and we're going to stand in line and get this puppy done. Okay. Well, it was mostly good news. At least they got a permit. Mr. Lindsay?
What I could add to Mr. Witham's comments is that if there is a meeting that isn't a city meeting, the one way to turn it into a city meeting is if a majority of you guys show up and then you deliberate. So if you happen to show up to this, take note of it because it will be something you would want to say in your ex parte reveal at the quasi judicial land use hearing. But more importantly, if you look around and there's a majority of you, a quorum of you, then by all means, don't make an opinionated statement or such, right? So, because then you're going to deliberate and turn it right into a public meeting. So, that's my admonition. Otherwise, I don't really have anything to share except nice to see you again and happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now go to council member reports. Councilor Duran.
I have nothing. We spoke about everything that I was going to talk about.
Okay. All right.
Same, but if you have some time to spare, please consider volunteering at the Kaiser Community Library.
Always a good idea.
Oh, and the tree lighting and the turkey dash and.
Give dates.
Okay.
Oh, no. Just go to kaiserchamber.com and you can find all the information that you want. Turkey dash, tree lighting, holiday lights parade.
And the giving baskets.
And the giving basket.
Yep. All right, thank you very much. Councilor Cross.
Just real quick, I got to attend 3 or 4 different Veterans Day events, so I just, because we were not here last week, want to thank all of our veterans and their families for their service and sacrifice.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended a bunch of meetings and we talked about most of them. The one we haven't really talked about much is the trash meeting, and I get to go to that again, which is real exciting. Just a quick shout out to Kaiser Police Department. I had a citizen call me and ask about somebody that they thought was spending time on one of our pieces of property, and they investigated that and took care of it. So thank you very much.
All right, very good. Just a couple things to wrap up the proceedings this evening. Let me see. Already covered that. I should just highlight these. I just want to give a shout out for the Community Business Education Leaders, CBEL. They did a recap. They had the same panel on November 6th that they had last year. So it was really great to hear a recap of what we've been doing in law enforcement, education, and our neighborhood family council, some from last year to this year, and just hearing about progress in our neighborhoods and how families and neighbors are taking care of one another and supporting our students, especially with our 2 neighborhood family councils, that's at Kennedy and at Cummings. Really appreciated the environmental division's the reception to honor our volunteers in many programs such as Adopt a Street, Adopt a Storm Drain, Tree Survey, and of course, Trashy Tuesdays. It was a wonderful evening and really appreciate everybody showing up so we could celebrate that. Also was able to participate in Veterans Day ceremonies. I went to the Willamette Lutheran homes and participated in their honoring of the residents there who are veterans, and really appreciate how they continue to serve veterans and their families who are residing there at Willamette Lutheran homes. Expo Negocios was here last Thursday. It was a great success. They hit their capacity for attendance. Great turnout by vendors, state agencies, business support businesses, and so forth. Congratulations to Latino Business Alliance and all of the partners for a great event again. And I'm very proud that the City of Kaiser was a sponsor through providing the space here at the Kaiser Event Center. The staff was widely praised for their service and making that a very comfortable event for everyone. The Claggett Creek Watershed Council met on last Thursday, the 13th. One of the things they are asking for is to reopen a conversation, or maybe open a conversation about putting signage at, I believe we have 5 bridges that go over Claggett Creek. And if they could do signage on those crossings on Dearborn, Chemawa, Alder, and up by Inland Shores that just say Claggett Creek. So they were asking me to bring that forward to see if we could have a conversation about what it would take to put signage, just simple signage on the places where Claggett Creek crosses the various points within Kaiser. So with council approval, I'd like to ask Mr. Brown if that could come back to us with information at the request of Claggett Creek Watershed Council. Any objection to bringing back that information? Hearing none. So Mr. Brown, Mr. Lawyer, if we could get that information, and Mr. Lawyer knows where all the crossings are. So, thank you for that. Lastly, I participated in the Clear Lake Elementary School Ruby Bridges Walk to School. The entire school walked. They had all sorts of wonderful lessons, and I think most people saw the message from Ruby Bridges to all of the schools in Oregon for the proclamation and also the activities happening in schools all over the state to remember Ruby Bridges, what she is doing. She's alive and well and working very hard on continuing to build community inclusion and belonging for kids in all of our schools. And lastly, I was able to attend the Siletz Tribal Council dinner and their annual restoration powwow. Congratulations to the Siletz tribe on 48 years of restoration and the work that they're doing to continue to grow the lands that that is under their care, both environmental, such as Table Rock, and what they're doing in creating housing within the different communities where their tribal members live. One last thing. Everybody remember community dinner. Councilor Kohler, does community dinner start early the day before Thanksgiving?
4:30.
Starts at 4:30.
I think it might be 3 to 6.
3 to 6, okay. So it's 3 to 6 for community dinner. It's going to be turkey and all the fixings. Would that be?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So come and celebrate Thanksgiving early at community dinner at St. Edward Church, and happy Thanksgiving to all. And always remember, 2 days after that is Small Business Saturday. Support local businesses on Small Business Saturday and every day. With that, let's go to agenda input. We will meet in regular session on December 1st at 6 p.m. The Long Range Planning Task Force will meet on December 8th, beginning at 6 p.m. We will be in regular session on December 15th at 6 p.m., and we will follow that with a short work session on the Bailey Road property, again on December 15th, starting sometime at or after 7 p.m. Is there anything else that we need to cover tonight before I make our announcement for executive session? All right. The City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, parens 2, parens E, to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. Representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions will be made in this executive session. The City Council, along with the City Manager, City Attorney, Assistant City Manager, Economic Development Advisor, and City Recorder may attend. The meeting will take place in the Public Works Planning Conference Room. At the end of the executive session, the City Council will not be taking action and will adjourn the meeting. With that, we will now recess to reconvene in executive session. The time is 8:29.